In today's episode, we go on a scavenger hunt, a Ford and a Cummins get a divorce, and then they get back together. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Weston. How are you guys doing today? Now, it's been a while since we had another video out on the old Cummins, and the reason for that is we've been waiting for parts. Basically, if you guys watched the last video, you'll know the oil pan's just a little bit too big of a girl to fit in the old Cummins. Or the Cummins. So some of you might be wondering, why is the pan too big to fit? And the reason for that is that's a big girl pan. She came out of an industrial model. We actually flipped it around. I thought we could make it work. I wanted to try to make it work, but it just ain't gonna fit in there on top of the crossmember. That pan there actually took almost 4 gallons of oil out, and the factory Dodge oil pan takes like 2 gallons, something like that. So, I've got good news and bad news about that. Good news is Santa Claus visited us yesterday and we got a new pan. Bad news is we got to pull this back out to put that pan on. So, we have got some parts up here. Now what we got is, first of all, I got to thank old DCS for sending this stuff. I was talking to old Will up there and I was telling him that our pan was a little bit too big, and he's like, you know what, I got one sitting right on the shelf. So he sent that to me. So we've got a nice thin, look at how thin that thing is, oil pan for a Dodge pickup, along with a brand new pickup tube and a gasket. Get down here, and we was talking about the air conditioner, and he got us a air conditioner compressor off of like a 2002 or 2003 Dodge, I think, and that'll bolt right up to our motor. And then we'll get down to the little knick-knack stuff. Now there's the block you can bolt on the back of the AC for that. We got tachometer sensor, a bracket, just some basic stuff. Right here is the biggest thing we have been waiting for in our part situation, is our nice and beautiful pan. Look how thin it is. And it's kind of got a cutout right there for the cross member. That's what's been holding us up from working on this thing, because I did not want to pull that motor back out until I had a pan here to put on it. That way I can pull it out, put this new pan on, and stuff it right back in. So, we're going to put that pickup tube on there while we got it out, and then these parts and everything will come in further videos. Also, before I get too far, we got some parts in for our next project coming up, and that is our 6-liter LS that came out of that knock in 2015. So some of you might remember, this is the engine that came out of our 2015 Chevy 2500 that was knocking. Go ahead and roll the clip. Alright, you see that? It had a bent rod in it and basically blew a head gasket, hydro-oct, I believe this back driver's side cylinder here. But we've got some crazy plans for this engine here. We're going to take an LS swap this after we rebuild it and get it up and running. We're going to take and Cummins swap. We're going to LS swap this into an old Chevy Silverado, a 1987 C10 I got. And we are hoping to take and put probably some boost to this thing and turn this into a tire burning monster. That's the plan anyway. So if you want to see this project too, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Let's get back to the F350. Be careful, because she kind of thinks this is heavy. We got it. There you go. Yeah. Oh my God, it's so beautiful. It's almost like it's brand new. Is that right, Wes? That's right. There's not a whole lot of difference, but a couple inches makes a heck of a lot of difference. Just ask any woman. All right, so we got both the oil pans off and laying here on the workbench so you can see kind of the differences. And before I even point it out, I'm sure some of you can see, this here is a big girl. Now she holds a lot of fluid. And then you can see this one here is really skinny, then she gets thick where it matters. So, as you can kind of see here, right is what was causing our problem. We was hitting the cross member right across there. So we've got our small oil pan. We're going to throw it on. We already got our pickup tube put on. We're gonna throw that thing on there, and my brother's gonna like it anyway because it's black and it's pretty and it's not tan and ugly. So to having a little bit of RTV, around the bottom of the pan gasket, see how the pan gasket's there, not moving any. And then when we squish it down, we'll have it just a little bit of RTV squish out. You don't want a ton, because think in mind, all the RTV that squishes out on the outside of the pan also squishes out on the inside of the pan. You don't want that stuff floating around your engine. So use just a little bit. Here's the conundrum. If after you're done you got more bolts than when you started, I think that just means that you made it better than they did in the factory. No, these go in the back of the pan, don't worry. All right guys, well, we got this thing put on there, and don't she look beautiful? I think that's gonna fit a lot better. I do gotta thank the guys up there at DCS. They sent us out this oil pan. It is a Cummins oil pan for a pickup. But if any of you are looking into doing a swap like this, make sure you gotta check them guys out. They are awesome. That being said, I think we're gonna try to put this thing back in there. You know what? I think it's gonna be a lot easier to put in now because that pan's a lot smaller. So it should just slide right in. Besides for the cameraman, I'm kind of here by myself to get the transmission hooked back up to the engine.
Yeah, I'm about as helpful as a one-legged man in an ass-kicking competition.
You gotta thank my brother. He's the one holding the camera, and he's the one editing these videos, making me not look stupid. So
we had to edit a lot, don't worry.
Are you ready? I'm ready. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Good. Please, Lord, let it fit.
It's unreal how much better it looks, by the way.
I don't like going down with this thing when it doesn't have anything under it, because as you know, it really don't like to stop going down when you let it down. Alright, there's that. I think it's going to install itself. Oh my God. Ooh, she's a heavy girl. I ain't joking, you set the truck down about 3 inches. So we got the engine in the truck. We got plenty of room in between the cross member and the oil pan. Got the engine bolted to the transmission. All that went together pretty well. Got the torque converters lined up with the flex plate, which on this you need to line it up before it will fully seat to the transmission because it's got studs on the torque converter instead of bolts. Got all that done. That's why this crowbar is right here, so my brother could crank over the engine while I was down there getting that thing bolted together. Now there is one thing we need to do now, and that is we got to move this engine and transmission back about 2 inches, I think. Yeah, about 2.5 inches. And the reason for that is if we left the engine where it's sitting at now, which we could do, and just leave it, bolt it down and call it good, we would not have enough room for mechanical cooling fan. We would have to use electric cooling fans on this truck, which would be fine if this was a race truck or a truck that didn't see any towing or anything like that. But this is going to be a daily driven truck that's probably going to see towing and, you know, things where a mechanical fan's a lot better, because obviously an electric fan just cannot move the kind of air a mechanical fan can. So we move the transmission and everything back. We are going to have to shorten our rear drive line, but the guys up at DCS says the front drive line has enough slip yoke in it that it will be fine. I'm going to check that when we move that as well. It's actually pretty easy to move this transmission and everything back because the holes are already in the frame for the V10 trucks. Well, the trucks that came with a V10, the transmissions were set back about 2 inches, so everything's there and already there for us to bolt up. All we got to do is just unbolt the cross member, slide everything back about 2 inches, bolt it back up, measure the difference between our drive line before and after, take it up there with some measurements to our local driveline shop, have them cut it down for us, and call it a day. Just wait until I drop this dang thing and hit myself in the crotch with it. Okay, that worked all right. Ooh. Okay, that worked all right. Ta-da! That ain't gonna work. Oh, dually. So guys, it's the next day. We got to run out to the scrapyard, see if we can find a throttle cable and some other things to make this project finished. And I think that's about it. And hopefully, I don't come back with another project on the way out of the scrapyard, find something I like. First gen. So we got the old drive line back from Wichita, and that is a big old wasp, believe me on. Anyway, we got our drive line back from Wichita. She's shortened 3 inches. And look at that, they did a wonderful job welding it. Wasn't that much, about $75, get it shortened. We're gonna throw that back underneath there, and we also need to make us a list on the rest of stuff we need to get done today. And probably wasp spray is high on the list. So, let's get it done.
All right, we're shooting now.
What are we shooting? Oh, me? Okay. We have come up with our roadkill professional list on cardboard with marker. So, what do we gotta do today? Fan, radiator hose, intercooler tube, torque converter nuts, need to get that done. Dipstick, he's holding the camera. Tack sensor, harmonic balancer, throttle cable, drive line, power steering, AC compressor, and we'll call it a day. Damn, it's like a boomerang. It keeps coming back to me. I throw this list and I throw this list and it never comes back finished. What the hell? All right, so I guess the first thing let's start on is the fan because, you know, obviously we want it in our way while we're trying to work on everything else, and I just want to see if I got all the parts here to make it work. So, let's do that. So we ran into our first problem for today, and what that is we're trying to get this bracket off that mounts the AC to the engine. And this is a high mount bracket system, well, high mount bracket compared to our low mount bracket that's sitting over there, which we have to use our AC compressor and our alternator. So when I'm trying to do this, them bolts are threaded into the water jacket, so they're kind of rusting, kind of in there really good. So it's really hard to get them out, and I'm almost stripped this top one. So hopefully I can get it out. Fingers crossed. I got me a 6-point socket now, so hopefully I can get it out without breaking it. Alright, so we got our bracket off finally. Now this thing was giving us a pain. We ended up having to grind the head of the bolt off and got that flange pulled off, and we got this bracket off the side of the motor. Now this is our high mount AC bracket off of our industrial motor. It had an AC compressor on it for the F700, and that AC compressor would bolt up to it. But then we couldn't get our alternator to fit up there right, so I had this bracket off of an actual old 12 valve. So we had to get this bracket pulled off to put that bracket on, so we can put our AC on the bottom, then our alternator on top. Now this thing was being a pain. This top bolt would not come out. The bottom two we had no problem with, but the top one would not come out for the life of us. We ended up grinding it off, got a set of vice grips around it, and finally got it backed off enough that we could get it out. This here is our tachometer sensor, and the old boys up at DCS sent this to us. Anyway, what this is going to do is, since our F700 didn't have a tach and really didn't need a tach, this truck does though. So what this will do is sit right there and read the marks on the new harmonic balancer we're going to put on there and tell us how fast the engine is going. Then we're going to plug this plug-in into our wiring harness. It'll go into our swap helper little box. It fools the computer into thinking there's still a 6.4 into this truck, and we'll get it going. And well, and the biggest thing is we got to have a tach sensor, or the transmission's not going to shift right. We won't have a tach on the gauge, and I don't think the air conditioning will work with no tach sensor. So let's get it put together. That's almost like I knew what I was doing. Well guys, it has been a long day. I'm gonna need about 3 days rest after this day. I ain't joking you. So we got her put in here. We got we actually got a lot done today. Today's been a really productive day. We got the alternator mounted. Got the oil pan switched around, got all that good stuff. AC compressors on there, the belts on there, the fans on there. And look, we got plenty of room in between our radiator and our radiator fan. I think it's about perfect for me. That's kind of exactly what I wanted. Take in mind there is a top shroud that goes around this. That fan is a little bit small for this, but it'll be plenty big enough for all this air that this Cummins needs. All right, that being said, we did run into a lot of issues today, and mainly the issues we ran into is this being an industrial motor, not a motor out of a Dodge pickup. And the problem with that is all the conversion parts are made for the Dodge pickup motors. So when you decide to try to put all this stuff together, everything don't fit right. You know, like our bracket on the side for the AC wasn't fitting. The alternator bracket wouldn't fit with that bracket. So needless to say, it was just a lot of small odds and ends that I was running around all day. I made like 3 trips to O'Reilly's, 2 trips to the junkyard just looking for stuff. But we got a lot of that small stuff done, and I think we've got dang near every part sitting here now to put this truck together. They tend to go together quicker when you got all the parts here. So as long as we don't run into any more issues, this truck should be running and driving fairly soon. I would say extremely soon. Okay, now before we get too far, or I guess too far, this is the end. There's one thing I want to touch on, and that is we have reached 100,000 subscribers in like 3 months. And I want to tell you guys, I am so grateful. I mean, I never expected this. I never expected for me to do as good as we have on YouTube. And I just want to take a second to thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. That being said, if you guys are new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button so we can get to 200,000. I'll be pretty happy then too. And hit that like button down below if you like the video. Comment down below what you think. And I wish I had more energy, but it's like 3 in the morning and I need a nap and a shower. So we're gonna go take that. We'll see you guys next time.